Serious, focused performances are great. One of the greatest privileges of being a cinema lover is watching when an actor truly gets his role and is able to communicate every intricacy of it, every conflict and mannerism, its deepest desires and most terrible contradictions. Those are great performances, no doubt, but they are not the only type of great performance. There's also some kind of art in the process of turning schlock into Shakespeare, as one journalist once said in a tribute to the great Christopher Lee. This list is the moment to celebrate overacting at its best, scenery chewing at its most sublime, dramatic exaggeration at its peak. And since they usually come when great actors take on villainous roles, here are the 5 best kitsch, over-the-top villain performances of all time. Number 5 goes to Faye Dunaway in Mommie Dearest, 1981. This one almost doesn't require any introduction. Ever since its release in 1981, Frank Perry's adaptation of Christina Crawford's book about the nightmare of growing up with Joan Crawford as a mother has become somewhat of a cult classic, markedly for its exaggerated portrait of the Hollywood star's control freak, psychotic tendencies. But Faye Dunaway's performance in it remains in equal measures terrifying and hilariously iconic. As Joan Crawford, she sneers and shouts her way through 2 whole hours of horrifying child abuse, creating a slew of unforgettable moments that the internet has taken full advantage of, much to the movie's loss, I must say. Dunaway is what makes Mommie Dearest tick as a cult classic so many years after its release. By acknowledging the kitsch appeal of the story, the character and the film, she makes it weirdly enjoyable. Number 4 goes to Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns, 1992. Michelle Pfeiffer has 3 Oscar nominations on her career. But what's the role she will be remembered by the most? That's right, the one where she paraded around in a tight latex suit, robbed jewels and brilliantly flirted with Michael Keaton. In Tim Burton's excellent Batman Returns, she's the definitive Catwoman, so much so that not 1, but 2 actresses have failed to make a positive impression on the role since. She even managed to obfuscate a fairly overacted performance from Danny DeVito. As Catwoman, Pfeiffer is not simply sexy or provocative. She's positively crazy, yes, but there's also something else in the fire of her eyes and her body language. It's independence, defiance, villainy with a strong personal purpose. She's magnetic, vibrant and unforgettable. "I am Catwoman. Hear me roar," she famously says. "Oh, we heard you, Mrs. Pfeiffer." Number 3 goes to Terence Stamp in Superman 2, 1980. Superman 2 had a huge responsibility in 1980, being the sequel of one of the first and most successful superhero movies of all time. That's before it decided to introduce the second most indelible villain of the Man of Steel's rogue gallery, General Zod. Thanks God the legendary Terence Stamp took on the role, completely embodying it in a purposeful and commanding performance that came to be the drive of what made the movie even better than the first one. It's hard to look at Michael Shannon's performance of the same character in 2013's Man of Steel and feel they belong on the same sentence. Thankfully, that's not really Shannon's fault, as the 2013 script barely gives him time or leeway to command the screen the way Stamp did, or create the same sense of danger, even if Shannon's Zod proves too powerful on the climax. Not unlike Catwoman, there can only be one General Zod. Number 2 goes to none other than fabulous actor Al Pacino in Scarface, 1983. I had to literally restrain myself from beginning this paragraph with "Say hello to my little friend." I compromised, though. That's how iconic Al Pacino's performance as drug kingpin Tony Montana is in Brian De Palma's Scarface, a whole film that serves as a testament that, sometimes, more is more. That goes for Pacino's performance too. The king of overacting doesn't lose his footing here, grounding Montana in reality while also making him a force of nature. Flashy is the word here, because Pacino wants, and gets, to stand out even in front of luxurious sets, a sumptuous narrative, and some neat directing tricks from old De Palma. We're never not looking at him, all masculine prowess and vulnerability, all impulse and explosiveness. Even when he takes out a machine gun and shoots everyone, all we remember is what he said before that. It's a masterclass in overacting. And finally, the #1 spot goes to this phenomenal actor Jack Nicholson for The Shining, 1980. One of the great classics of horror filmmaking, The Shining could not work were it not for Jack Nicholson's completely mental performance as Jack Torrance. As divisive as the film sometimes is because of Stanley Kubrick's very particular interpretation of Stephen King's novel, Nicholson's acting in it is absolutely undeniable. As he slowly delves into complete lunacy and paranoia, we watch stupefied by what the actor is able to do. Nicholson brings a true sense of method to Torrance's madness, and to the overall exacerbated emotions of his performance. It's a rambling, terrifying mess, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. To think that, as an actor, Nicholson was able to replicate being completely lost in his own head in front of the camera is extraordinary. So that's all for today. Hope you liked our list on the 10 best over-the-top villain performances of all time. Please subscribe us for more over-the-edge facts and countdown, and please don't forget to like and share.